Hello folks, Daniel once again from the magnificent world of toys. If you notice behind me, things look a little different, or I'm not sure if I've ever even really showed this side of my collection. Behind me, there used to be 1/6 scale action figures. And when you would watch these videos, you would see my vintage stuff behind me and 1/6 scale figures. But now that vintage stuff has moved over to this side, and there's been some more 1/6 scale action figures that have moved over to that other side. So real quick before we start, I'd like to share with you guys the insane process of switching these things out. I'm sure many of you have collections, and maybe some of you enjoy moving your stuff around, maybe some of you don't. Part of the problem when you got a lot of stuff is once you move it, especially if it takes you a very long time to move it and you're not happy with the outcome, you're not sure if you want to move it back the way it was. And typically that's what happens to me. I'll move it, I'm not happy with it, but I'm like, you know what, I'll just deal with it until I'm up to moving things around again. So before we start, check out this video of me moving my stuff around.
Who prevails in the fight for animatron?
So last month we premiered our first mock 80s television commercial. And that's basically an 80s style commercial using custom action figures. And I reached out to a custom figure maker known as Battle Cat Brian, and I told him, let's put together a couple figures that are like an amalgamation of Masters of the Universe and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And he gave me some pretty good ones, so we made our first commercial of mine. We're still a work in progress. I sort of bent the rules on one of them only because it was a Dick Tracy figure. What I thought is, since he was already sort of yellow, I thought about maybe making him an amalgamation between Dick Tracy and Spyclone from the Masters of the Universe. So the name I came up with for him is Spyclone. I painted his face blue, and I also painted his hair orange, kind of to resemble Faker. So I guess you could say he's a bit of an amalgamation of three characters. I know he's not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I mean, he kind of fits the scale, and it was just kind of, you know, I think I had all the right pieces at the time, and it was just hard for me not to make this figure as part of this project. Here's another character we didn't get a chance to put in the first commercial, and that's Trapsteady Rockjaw, which is an amalgamation of Rocksteady and Trapjaw. And if you saw my first episode of the Wonderful Workshop, you saw a little bit more in-depth stuff about him, how I made him, things like that. This next figure used to be a Toka, but he's a cross between Toka and Spycore. Unfortunately, I haven't featured him in one of the commercials yet, but definitely he'll be in one of the next ones. I did have to sculpt a lot of spikes, basically the ones on his chest and the ones on his head. And then his pitchfork here is a piece from some Lego set that my son gave me. He helps me a lot when it comes to this kind of stuff, especially since he collects a lot of Legos. If he sees a part that it's something I may be able to use, he'll definitely donate it to the cause. One thing I can say was making these mock commercials was a lot of fun. I mean, building the set, setting up the lights. I mean, it was hard, it was back-breaking work. At the end of the day, when you see the end product, I mean, you know where all your hard work went. I mean, it's a very enjoyable process, and I certainly hope to do it more and more often.
The battle rages on for animatron. As Rio Krang schemes to take over the world once again, a new hero emerges. Spyclone, with his powers of perception and cybernetic abilities, inspects his surroundings. With this cyber-chomping jaw and atomic blaster cannon, Rocksteady Trapjaw emerges from the waste pit in an attempt to gain the upper hand by distracting Spyclone. Rio Krang takes advantage of the opportunity and attempts his sneak attack. Spyclone, with his keen instincts and mega-power deflector, thwarts the attack. Once again, the forces of evil are neutralized, but for how long? Figures sold separately, only from MAGWOT.
I want to share a figure I recently bought that I'm really excited about. I'm very excited about this figure because I love Game of Thrones. I think it's been a great series. Last Wednesday, I picked up the White Walker from 3-0. I was really thrilled with it. I think it's really cool. So that's about all for today. Big thank you once again for all those of you who watch these videos, who share, who've subscribed, and those of you who interact with me on YouTube, on Instagram. You know, I really appreciate that. That's really cool, and that's really what keeps me going. I mean, these videos, they're you know, it's not easy. You know, I don't get paid to do this. I do this for fun, and I do this to meet new people and to just stay busy. And that being said, I also want to thank all those of you who've been helping me find other people to interview, things like that, and as well as those of you who have signed on to have videos done of you. Thank you. Peace out.